Remember back in the day when we used to buy something and we actually owned it? That when we bought a video game or an app or hell even a car, we would just pay whatever price it was and we'd have it forever and that was it? I mean, sure, there'd be some extra stuff you could spend money on, but it wouldn't affect your actual ownership of the product. Good times, right? Well, now we are in the era of subscription services, and holy fuck are they everywhere. Now, subscriptions have been around for a long time. I'm not saying that there's some new thing. However, there seems to be a rather big increase in just the amount of things that we as consumers need to pay for not even just the product, but just a shit ton of add-ons that companies just keep throwing in our faces. And what really prompted me to make this video was something that was introduced into, or I guess something that's planned for one of my favorite games, Rainbow Six Siege, which is the gameplay you're watching right now. Now, in the new season of content that's been revealed, they have introduced a paid membership where you get some cosmetics, some in-game currency, and some other shit. Now, on its own, it may not sound that bad. Fortnite has something similar with their Fortnite crew membership. But what if I told you that's on top of a paid battle pass, a Ubisoft Plus subscription, and the fact that this new season is pretty lackluster with content to begin with? It's no surprise that this announcement was received pretty negatively.
In order to make members feel like true VIPs on Siege. So as always, we'll be listening to the feedbacks.
The point is that companies, especially in the entertainment space, seem to have no problem coming up with new ways to monetize their services, which on its own isn't a problem, but then they proceed to screw up their product and not give it the attention it needs and just rely on the subscription that people pay. I just don't understand, why the fuck does everything have a subscription nowadays? It's like with battle passes. Fortnite blows up 6-7 years ago and has a battle pass system, and now every damn game has some version of it. I mean, they don't even try to change it up a bit so it won't look like they copied it. And I've just grown to hate the very idea of the subscription business model, especially in gaming. You pay an upfront price for the product and you own it, but actually not really, because there's some feature that you don't have that you have to pay extra for. Something you should ideally already have access to, or just something that isn't worth paying for in general. And it just seems more and more like they're just trying to keep as much shit as they can behind a paywall, pretty much bending over backwards trying to get people to pay more for their shitty service. If I'm playing a game or using some kind of app or streaming service and there's just tons of issues, bugs, glitches, quality of life problems, stuff that's just missing, that shit's never fixed, but then you have no problem rolling out a new feature that we have to pay $15 a month for. Quality just goes out the window and it becomes all about that monthly subscription income. A prime example of this is Disney Plus. The stuff they put on there now is just hot garbage. They pump out poorly made series after poorly made series, just churning out the same kind of content, and they time their releases so that people don't cancel their subscriptions, which just lets them milk the platform for everything they can get. But that's for the bigger fish like Disney and Fortnite. Now it's like every company sees that business model and thinks, yeah, I can do that. Now you're seeing stuff like this with Ubisoft, car companies, and even the damn website I use to remove backgrounds from images for videos. Companies like Mercedes and BMW have added subscription premiums for pretty much their own version of DLC in the form of perks like heated seats and acceleration from 0 to 60 literally 1 second faster than usual. Things that honestly should have been included to begin with, or things that provide such little actual benefit for the price they're charging. The fact that they're trying to make it as if what you pay for isn't even the full thing is just wild to me, like there's microtransactions you have to pay in order to enjoy the product fully. Like they actually deliberately nerf their cars from the start with those missing features already built in, but are designed to be activated and deactivated based on whether or not you pay. Which I honestly find to be ridiculous, almost like on a moment's notice those features can instantly be taken away from you unless you pay. On a side note, and speaking of microtransactions, EA has stated that they are considering adding advertisements within their AAA games. Just another display of how out of touch these companies are with consumers and how hungry for money they really are. They can continue to underdeliver and disappoint with their games and other products, but never fail to find new brain rot ways to squeeze more money out of the consumers. And that's why I firmly believe that voting with our wallets is really the way to go and might just show these companies that no one likes this cancerous subscription model. Now, of course, it's all up to the consumer whether or not they want to buy these subscription-based add-ons. I'm not saying that they're forcing people to do it. At the end of the day, you don't need to buy them if you don't want to. But there are some people who will still buy those subscriptions, and as long as that continues to happen with very little pushback, companies, especially game companies, will never direct their attention to what matters most to consumers. And here's the thing, I'm talking about the video game industry here. But it just seems like there's almost zero effort being put into new AAA games nowadays. It just seems like there are more games released that are complete failures than games that are actually good. And the games that are actually good and have great potential are just ruined by corporate greed or just flat out abandoned. We saw this exact thing happen with Star Wars Battlefront 2. Although it had a rough launch, that game became something amazing. Player counts were through the roof, there were endless opportunities for content that could have kept the game alive for years. All for EA to cut off all support and focus on making the shit show known as Battlefield 2042. And we all know how that ended up. Ironically, one of the most popular IPs that could have made arguably a lot more money than another Battlefield game was abandoned and shelved. We have another good example with sports games like FIFA. Just take the same game, change or add maybe one or two things, slap on the next year on the title since they do this pretty much every year, and then proceed to price the game at like $70 or higher as if it's a completely new game. Not to mention the giant and ever-increasing disconnect between the players and the publishers. And I'm not talking about the actual developers who work on the games. I'm talking about the fucking executives who only care about profits to the point where it actively harms their company. These people know nothing about video games or what players actually want in a video game. These are the people who are responsible for dumb shit like insane pushes on microtransactions and making sure more of the characters are gay or trans or check some kind of diversity box for the sole reason of improving their ESG score. You know, shit that people don't actually care about in a game. And these subscriptions or memberships are just the newest way of, again, just attempting to milk as much money as possible at the cost of everything else. And quite frankly, I'm over it. I have no problem with companies finding new ways to monetize their games or their other products, but when it's blatantly done as a cash grab with no real effort put in, while sacrificing the opportunity to make their add-ons or product actually worth paying extra for, that's when they've taken it too far. But that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.